hired him, replaced him with the next hot coordinator in Todd Bowles. He was the next big thing. Todd Bowles and his hybrid linebackers and all that sort of stuff. Remember? He was the hot guy. Hired Todd Bowles. He sucked. And then we went to the previous head coach route. So we only like to hire a head coach. If they have experience, we like to make sure that they're fired first. We want to make sure that their previous gig was a complete flop, and then we'll take them. We don't want anybody who's kind of, on a high note or anything like that. This is when the Colts had Peyton Manning waiting there because he didn't come out the year before because Parcells, our brilliant head coach, decided not to tell Archie Manning he couldn't guarantee that he would take his kid first. It's just the stupidest thing. History could have been totally different for us, Jets fans. But it's not. And it sucks because Parcells is one of the greatest coaches we've ever had, if not the greatest. So how can you complain? You can't. I hate that prison cell. I hate it. I want to yell. I want to bitch about it. But I can't because Parcells was good. Traded back. Got James Farrier and Dedrick Ward out of that one. That's what I think. Yay! Here we are. Turn the corner Thursday. Everybody ready to turn a corner? I'm ready to turn a corner. As a matter of fact, I'm so ready to turn a corner that I brought help with me tonight to help me have the oomph to turn that corner and start looking ahead, dry my eyes from last week's shit fest. I shouldn't have cursed so early. That's when YouTube gets you. They're like, oh, can't advertise here. But that's what it was. So anyway, I'm going to bring on some help. I brought one of our very, very good friends, somebody with the silky smooth voice that we all know and love. He used to be called Frank Markopoulos Audiobooks, but now he is none other than Frankie from Flatbush. What are you doing, buddy? How are you?
Good. I'm excellent, GreenBean. I'm ready to turn the corner. Let's do some corner turning.
Yeah, see, I knew you would be, and that's why I wanted to hang with you tonight, man. I was like, who can help me turn the corner? And Positive Frank. I don't know if you know that, but that's what everybody calls you behind your back.
Sure, I'll take it. I've heard a lot worse, GreenBean.
I'm telling you, I know you have. So before we get started, I want to welcome another one of our own, straight from the chat himself, behind the scenes, weekly. We know him and love him as Watu-K99. What's happening, buddy? How are you tonight?
Doing pretty good. Like Frankie, I also have turned the corner and now driving straight down Recovery Road. Cruising on, ready to go.
Recovery Road. Frankie, are you on Recovery Road?
I think I am on Recovery Road. That's a good place to be. It's a good place to be.
I've been on Recovery Road for 11 years and change. So I'm going to tell you a lot of bumps on this road, but it's a fine direction to head in, if I may. So Adam, as usual, Watu-K99 will be behind the scenes, helping us out with all sorts of information, flooding us with all the stats and tidbits that we want to consume. So I appreciate you being here, man, and we'll bring you on shortly, okay?
I'll be ready.
All right, thanks again. So there it is. So Frank, let's start this way. I played a little clip. I played clips about coaches tonight, and the reason I wanted to do that, some clips about Todd Bowles, clips about Bill Parcells in the opening of the show, and the reason being is because I got into a couple of conversations this week. One said, I knew Robert Saleh was not the guy the minute we hired him. That's what one direction was. Of somebody I talked to, I'd say regularly, why not? Somebody I talked to said, I knew it. I knew he wasn't the guy, clearly. And another guy said, Saleh is being held back by Joe Douglas's poor-ass draft picking. So I wanted to know your thoughts. We are 2 weeks into the season. What do you think about Robert Saleh? And you don't have to necessarily talk about either one of those points that were made, but how do you feel about him? Do you think he's showing you anything? Are you nervous? What do you got for Robert Saleh for me here?
Well, we said all along that we wanted a CEO, That's what we want. We didn't want an offensive guru, a defensive guru. We want a CEO, someone who's going to do everything that way. And we said that all along. And then we got one. I think Coach Saleh is a CEO. It seems to me that's exactly what he's doing. And now we're unhappy with Coach Saleh.
He's not involved enough in the defense.
Yeah, why doesn't he call the plays for Coach LaFleur? So I personally love Coach Saleh. I think he's fantastic. I have not heard anybody in the entire league who's respectable, outside of just random fans who can say whatever, say a bad word about Coach Saleh. And most of the time I'm hearing this is a defensive genius. What a great defensive mind. He's a leader of men. He's a people person. He's going to really believe and get the best out of you. That's all I've ever heard about Coach Saleh. So I'm sold on Coach Saleh. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that the 2020 draft was a draft that was drafted for Coach Gase. Those guys were drafted for Coach Gase and his regime and his team. So I think you got to give Joe Douglas a mulligan on that one. And if we get 1 or 2 or 3 guys out of it, great. But you can't really look at that because it was a draft for another regime. And then look at the draft we had this year. I think everybody still believes that this was a great draft. And this was the draft for Coach Saleh's team. So I still think you got to have a little bit of patience and get rid of some of the old dead wood and bring in some of these guys that are better fits for Coach Saleh and what Coach LaFleur wants to do. And then I think, you got to look at Coach LaFleur. Although you have to be a little cautious because it's very easy to say, blame the offensive coordinator. Every time that there's a bad game offensively, every fan of every team says, it's the offensive coordinator. They should have run more. They should have had more short passes. They should have thrown the ball down the field more. Why didn't they check down? Why didn't they throw it over this guy's head? And so you got that being said, it's hard to know. It's hard to know.
It is. It is. And look, I think you bring up some good points. It's like, we wanted a guy to manage the entire operation. Now, we have not had that in some time. It goes all the way back. I guess Eric Mangini could have been considered that. He attempted to be that way, but he was much more skewed toward the defense. And that was kind of known, even though he was trying to be the overall coach. Before him, Herm Edwards, he tried to, but he had to hire a clock management coach. He didn't know what was going on as far as the CEO responsibilities of a head coach. As much as I liked him, I got to say, I did like Herm Edwards.
But I love Herm Edwards.
But it goes back to Parcells, really, somebody who coached the whole team. I mean, you look at Rex Ryan, you look at obviously Todd Bowles and Adam Gase. I mean, Adam Gase went as far as to say, no, there are 2 head coaches. He's a defensive head coach. I don't know. I don't want anything to do. And Jamal Adams, upon leaving, said, I mean, honestly, he never talked to, the defense never heard a word from Adam Gase. That was totally not, didn't even know who he was almost, So this idea that Robert Saleh is going to be CEO, I think it is still what we want, but I think where people are uncomfortable is that the truth is that he doesn't quite yet know what he's doing. He might know what he wants to do. He might know what he's seen done, but we're 2 weeks into him actually doing it. And I think we're going to see more hurdles. I think we're going to see lots of stuff. But what I can say, and I'll ask you if you agree with me, I would say I still get I still have a feeling with this guy that he is made of the stuff that can become the thing that we want. Where when I looked at Todd Bowles, as much as I liked Todd Bowles as defensive coordinator and had hope, I never believed that Todd Bowles was going to be the guy to come in here and supplant Bill Belichick from the throne, so to speak. I never felt like we had that level of coach. With Saleh, I think we can. I fashion him in like a John Harbaugh mold. Kind of that guy, very, very intelligent and all that. Do you think I'm barking up the wrong tree? Do you think I'm onto anything with Saleh?
I think you are onto something, GreenBean. And I'll just from a gut perspective, when we hired Coach Bowles, I did not have a good gut reaction to that. I said, this guy, he's not going to handle the media. The media is going to eat him alive. And that's sort of what happened. When we hired Coach Gase, I said, I don't know what happened here, but this person has a substance abuse issue. And why is he our head coach? But then when we got Coach Saleh, I said, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about, and he knows how to interact with them. Just look at the difference between Coach Gase, Coach Bowles, and Coach Saleh and how they handle the media. I mean, Coach
Yeah.
Saleh is a genius at handling the media, and we're in the number one media market in the world. It's important that you know how to deal with this media because they're a bunch of jackals. And,
Jackals.
they're out to get you. And he is charming the pants off of them. I mean, he's very charming.
Yeah, he is.
And you need to be, I think.
You really do. And before we move on, I want to acknowledge some people. We have quite the crew of heavy hitters in here tonight. I mean, we got guys like Steven Engel and New York Jets fan 4, obviously Y2K, and I see Gitmo Bob and all these guys. FOC is here. Follow of Christ, Salty Nuts Nalty is here. All these guys, but also Paul Boy Green Esden is in the chat. And I want to acknowledge him because I love him so. And I can't wait to pick his brain. I almost reached out to you today, Paul. I wanted to know where you were because I didn't listen to the podcast. Well, it's not out till Wednesday. So I don't get to listen to things until later in the week. So Wednesday is what? Yesterday? Yeah, there's no way. So I try to listen to this stuff every week, but I wasn't able to hear your thoughts. And I'm so curious. I have a few questions for you. So maybe I'll get some time, but it's good to see you here. I also see John Amarella, who I got to hang out with we got some real quality time at the game this weekend. I see obviously Jeremy Cravat is here. He's also hanging out. He's doing some sneaky, shady stuff tonight, Frankie, this Jeremy Cravat fella. But
he's always doing that.
Yeah, he's up to something. You never know. He's like kind of slithery, isn't he? He is a slithery soul. Anders Kortson is here. I mentioned Steven Engel, Budster, Jets Forever. Harry's back. Harry W. New York Sports MC. It's good to see you, buddy. I feel like you've been taking a break recently. I don't recall, but it's nice to see you anyway. Rusty Spooner and Yoshi are here. Ant Jets is here. So many guys that I just love to see, and I appreciate you being here. So as we continue to talk about Robert Saleh, you kind of touched on something, and I see something in the chat with the Joe Douglas 2020 draft being, we have to factor this in. Now, I don't want to use it as an entire excuse, but it is true that the draft was for Adam Gase. They were trying to build a team then. Now, New York Sports MC chimed in with something, and he said, if we took a look at the 2020 draft, people are not mentioning how much it has helped the culture change. They drafted all those captains. More production would be great, but helping the locker room is key as well. Now, you can use that. I'd like to know your thoughts on that comment, but in addition to that, I'd like you to open up a little bit about the class pertaining to Gase, and if you really believe that some players that maybe pertain to Gase more than the regime now. What do you think about all that?
Well, don't forget also, and as you well know, we had a co-equal situation with Coach Gase and Joe Douglas. They were co-equals reporting up to the owner. So that's stupid. Why the hell was that? But nonetheless, it existed. And so if you think about the draft room, I'm pretty sure that Coach Gase had an influence over some of those picks. I have to believe they were drafting for him and his regime and his team. And in addition, Joe Douglas was not his boss. So if they had a conflict and, maybe half the picks were Gase picks and maybe half were Joe Douglas picks. And we can't overlook that. I mean, now we have a reporting structure that makes total sense. We have it the way it should be. Nobody forced any of these coaches onto Coach Saleh, as opposed to what happened with Coach Rule, which was also completely freaking stupid, where we said, oh, Coach Rule, we love you so much. Please come coach for us. Okay, I'll come coach for you. Okay, but all of your staff, we have to pick them. You can't. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, what?
But I don't like that guy. I don't like what he does. I don't work well with his system. Yeah, but that's okay. We want him. We want you to do. You're the boss. You're the boss.
Yeah, you're the boss, but you're.
Yeah. You got to hire Greg Williams. And the rumor is that it was Greg Williams and Adam Gase. That was the two coordinators they were trying to force on him. And then when it all fell to shit, they just went Adam Gase because they were already in talks and they had lost Kingsbury and all that kind of stuff. So think about that. Not only were we trying to force staff on him, but we were trying to force Adam Gase on him. Like, we talk about loving this guy. It's crazy.
I mean, I don't know how. Now, I happen to think that I have an actual theory about Coach Gase. because the history of Coach Gase in the league, he does have a history. He didn't just show up magically out of nowhere.
Right.
He was with other teams, and he, famously coached Peyton Manning, but he was with the Bears. He was with the Dolphins. He was with all these teams. And people thought he was a good offensive mind, if not a genius, or if not the greatest. He was a respectable coach. So I think something happened when he came here and he became the head coach, and he couldn't take the pressure. He couldn't take the media. He couldn't take something. And I personally think, I have no evidence. I don't know, but I do think he had a substance abuse issue.
Yeah.
Just a theory. I don't know. Don't want to, but it just seemed like he was so out of character for someone who was in the league a long time and fairly respected. And then he was just so crazy. I don't know what other explanation we could come up with.
Yeah. Well, and look, for somebody like myself, and I've been ridiculed for this. I've had people DM me and tell me I was a complete piece of shit for saying what I'm about to say again. So this shows you the effect it's had on me. But I am absolutely convinced, with my expertise in the substance abuse realm and seeing quite literally thousands of examples of what substance abuse looks like, its behavioral responses, all those kinds of things. I'm absolutely convinced. And I'm telling you, I was convinced 30 seconds into his introductory presser of what I was looking at. Now, I'm not going to go and say exactly which drug. I have my ideas, but I believe there's absolutely something there. Now, that would be fine. I don't even care if you do drugs all day, as long as you can do the job. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, if you could come in here and fucking win, do it. Who cares? But the truth is that I believe, kind of like what you were indicating, is that his job performance was being affected by it. And I think, the guy probably will end up needing some sort of help soon. And I don't root for anybody's personal lives to be negative. It's never like that in the NFL. And I could despise and loathe players on the field, but the truth is, it's the field. I'm like, it's like a football world and everything. I don't root for anything. But that's really interesting, man, with the whole Matt Rule thing. And that point about the I think people minimize how important that equal reporting structure really was. We've had that for 10 years. That reporting structure, that the coach and the general manager are on equal footing and report up to the owner, who quite frankly doesn't know anything, with respect. Like, he just doesn't. Neither of the owners, whether it's Woody or Christopher, know anything about this world, this football world. And yet they were in charge, and they had that crazy reporting structure. So I do think it had an impact. And I think people don't place enough on the importance of changing that, which is one of the major things Joe Douglas has been able to do. So when you think about the 2020 class, what do you think, man? Do you think it's a wash, or you think, hey, it's just a bad period? We got injuries and everything, but we still have a lot of time for these guys.
Well, I do think we have time. I mean, Becton, Mims, Mann, Hall, if those guys turn out to be contributors, it's a good draft by any measure. I mean, I think 50% is the normal hit rate for any general manager anyway.
Right.
And then if you think about it, if half the picks were Gase's and half were Douglas's, and we still came out with 50% hits, well, you got to say great. But I do think we got to see what happens with Mims. Could go off on a long tangent about Denzel Mims.
Oh, we will.
But if he gets on the field, man, all he's got to do is beat out Keelan Cole for the Z, and he'll get on the field and he'll show what he can do. And Ashton Davis. So Cannondale 91 in the chat says, yeah, Ashton Davis. What about that? He's not active this weekend, but he might be the following, because I think it's a 3-game IR for him. But he could be back the following week. So there's another guy who could be a contributor too. And if all these folks are contributors, and you got to assume Mekhi Becton comes back and is healthy and does what we all think Mekhi Becton can do out there at the left tackle, well, then you look at it, and Bryce Hall, if Bryce Hall continues to have the season he's having, I mean, for a 5th round pick, Jesus, if you get a CB1 from a 5th round pick,
yeah,
I mean, come on,
CB2,
or even a CB2, yeah.
You know, so listen, I want to say a couple of things, and I number one, I agree with you entirely, but I want to show you something when we're just kind of leaned into the memes, and we're only going to touch it for a split second, but I want to show you a message that I got. Oh, you know what? Let me do a public service announcement first. I almost forgot to do this, and I would be really upset if I did. So hold on a second. I want to find this. I want to find this guy. So somebody at the game, they had a personalized jersey that they got from their mother, and he lost it at the game, and he like it it's a very specific jersey, and hold on, I gotta find this, but he lost it, and he asked if I could help announce what it looks like. It has a very specific name on the back, and because he can't find it, and it's just heartbreaking because it's a personalized, his mother bought it for him and all that sort of stuff. So I got to find that. In the meantime, I want to show you guys, watch this. You guys are going to love this. You guys are going to love it. I know you are. So somebody on Instagram sent me this. Now, Frankie, I'm going to show you this thing, and I want you to see, maybe you even saw it, but I'm going to show you this. I'm going to share my screen with everybody. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. And I want to just say, I think Denzel Mims would have helped with this play. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. So I'll show you. Wait a minute. Where'd it go? I suck at this, Frankie. Entire screen. Where is it? Chrome tab. That's what I got to do. Here we go. Okay. Let's see if we got it here. Can you guys see that? Okay, so let me do this. So I'm going to play this for you. Now watch this. I'm actually going to have to turn my, let me see if you guys can hear it. Hold on. Okay, you guys ready? Now watch this. This is a person on Instagram named Derek Kagan, somebody that's just tickles me from time to time. So watch this, guys. Tell me what you think. Wait.
To be it. This Patriot's winning off the edge. This Jets lineman is probably holding. There's a Patriot charging up the middle at Zach with no blocking at all. This Jets dude is being pancaked on the ground. We have these two idiots staring at each other like, yo, what are we doing? I don't know. Let's just stand here. We have 78 touching his own lineman. On top of that, we have two receivers with zero separation, and the cherry on top has to be Zach Wilson throwing this pick. And Corey Davis has no hops. If there's one play that some...
Could you hear that?
Yeah, we heard it. Well, I heard it.
Could you guys hear it? Let me know in the chat if you can hear it. I see I got some private chats too. They're probably yelling at me for something. Oh, super chat. Okay, awesome. Thank you. I see you, V-Man. I'll get to it in just a second. So, number one, isn't that just the perfect play to outline when we're why the Jets are having the difficulties that they are? But the end of it, and Corey Davis has no hops. Like that was the perfect opportunity for somebody to be able to use their height and vertical and go up there and save the day. And he jumped about 3 inches off the ground. So any thoughts? Do you think Denzel Mims would have been able to help us with that one?
Well, it's even worse than that, GreenBean, if you really think about it, because the Patriots were in man all day. And number one, if we didn't know that they were going to be in man, then that's the worst thing of all for our coaching staff. How did we not know? They play man. That's what they do. So if we knew they were playing man, which I really hope we knew, and then we said, oh, against man coverage, we can't figure out a way to use Denzel Mims because he doesn't know the X, the Y, the Z, the F, the flanker, the tight end. He doesn't know how to be a fullback, so he can't play.
Yeah, he's still struggling being a tight end, so we're not ready for him yet.
Yeah. Whereas in man, if you just put him out there one-on-one against the boundary where Zach Wilson could go, well, if I'm in trouble, I'm just going to find Mims against the boundary and he'll either jump up and get it or it'll be out of bounds. No problem. It won't be an interception. I won't get sacked. Mims is my safety valve against the right boundary. If I could figure that out, what's going on with Coach LaFleur and Coach Benton and Coach Austin and all the coaches, they couldn't, and Coach Kavanaugh, they couldn't figure out that Denzel Mims would be a useful guy to have on a field against a man coverage team with Zach Wilson, the rookie quarterback who needs as many safety blankets as he can get against Belichick. Right.
Smooth, man. I was pretty damn smooth, I gotta say. Before I get to V-Man, I want to play that one more time because I love it. I've already watched this with no exaggeration, a dozen times today. He sent it to me. I saw it. I mean, with the most painful heart. I laughed my ass off the first time. I think his delivery is just stupendous. So let's watch it again real
Thumbs
quick.
up the New York Jets. This one has to be it. This Patriots winning off the edge. This Jets lineman is probably holding. There's a Patriot charging up the middle at Zach with no blocking at all. This Jets dude is being pancaked on the ground. We have these two idiots staring at each other like, yo, what are we doing? I don't know. Let's just stand here. We have 78 touching his own lineman. On top of that, we have two receivers with zero separation, and the cherry on top has to be Zach Wilson throwing this pick. And Corey Davis has no hops. If there's one play that
Oh my God.
It's a great analysis.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. So hold on. So here we go. Thank you, Derek. I appreciate that. I sincerely do. So, and we'll talk about that. I want to get to V-Man Super Chat. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And thanks in the private chat for making sure I saw that. I appreciate that too. So V-Man wants to know, or wants to say, hey, if Mangini was in The Sopranos, Rex Ryan was in That's My Boy, and Bowles was in Marvel's Luke Cage, what show, movie would Robert Saleh cameo in? Well, let me say it. I'm going to let you answer, but I want to just preface it with this. I don't know what That's My Boy or Luke Cage is. So there's that. It's going to be difficult. I'm still going to have an answer. But what do you think? Are you familiar with those movies?
No, I'm not familiar with those, but I would say probably 300.
300?
Yeah.
What do you think of that, V-Man? You know what I was going to say? I was going to say Shazam. Is that bad? But
People
that's
say
wrong.
he looks like King Xerxes from
Well,
Persia.
that's right. He does look like Xerxes. He does. What was I going for there? Maybe like Avatar, The Last Airbender. I mean, it's definitely something with the bald head and the the olive complexion. You know what I mean? So there's something there. But that's funny, man. Mangini was in The Sopranos. That's my boy. Luke, yeah, those are just unfamiliar to me. I'm not so in touch these days, V-Man. It's sad. I'm sad to say that, but that was funny. That was funny. The bald head, he's a villain, right? Oh, look at this. So James Thrice says, the Wheel of Time as the Borderland Warrior. I'm about to break into the Wheel of Time. You know that? I'm a big Brandon Sanderson fan, but I have not read the Wheel of Time that he ended up finishing for Jordan. But I'm a huge, huge fan. I've been told by a half dozen book lovers of the same realm that I gotta get into Wheel of Time. Like, you're being stupid already. Like, what are you doing? So it's fucking 15 books or whatever it is, man. 1,000 pages each. That's a tough ask, isn't it?
You got to commit. You got to make a big commitment. That's why I don't want to get into Game of Thrones. It's like, I'm sure it's a very good show, but it seems like it's very exhausting just to watch it.
Yeah, Watu-K says Saleh would be a villain in The Expendables. Right. I'm telling you, man. It's so look, the Mims stuff is interesting. Rusty Spooner says Mims would absolutely have helped. I added absolutely. That's what I sensed from you, Rusty. I just that's what I absorbed. He absolutely would. Probably because I think that.
Well, and Rusty is very positive as well, so I think it's perfectly in line with what Rusty would say.
See that? Like, we're getting to know each other out here. That's all it is. So Jets Forever says Mims is catching the ball. Wouldn't have been tipped. He's over that. Yeah, I mean, look, it's and then not for nothing. And look, I'm not bashing on Corey Davis. I'm really not. I'm happy to have him, and I think highly of him. But let me tell you, the one pick was right through his hands. And at least that's what I saw. I was able to watch the game once more, and it looked like it went right through his hands, the first pick. So he had himself a rough day, and like, we like to blame it all on Zach and stuff, and fair enough, man, fair enough. But again, like, if his receivers could just do their job, maybe we'd be looking at a different situation going into week 3. So Jeremy wants us to know that Luke Cage is a bald black superhero, Marvel. Okay. Yeah, Luke Cage. What? Yeah, I mean, it rings a bell, but I keep thinking Nicolas Cage, and I don't think that's what we're going for. So that's why I didn't share that. So, follower of Christ, FOC, wants to say, wasn't Mims sick and lost weight? Maybe they're just protecting him and his privacy until he's back to normal.
He's back. That was early on. He's back to normal now.
Yeah. Well, let's throw this out there, and I'll use your message, FOC, to kind of lean into another idea. Somebody suggested to me earlier today that what they're really doing, potentially, the idea was what they're really doing with Mims is that they're thinking long term with him, and he's maybe like he's not doing things exactly the way they want to, and they're doing a long haul thing with him. It's going to benefit him long term, where they see some negative things they don't like, whether it's work ethic, whether it's not knowing the why, whatever it might be, and they're putting in with him now, doing the hard stuff, knowing that they're going to have to weather this assault from fans and all this kinds of shit because they believe in him so much and they want him to succeed. If that was the case, would I be happier with it? Or would you be, something like that? And I thought about that for a little while. I was like, at first, I'm like, yeah, okay, man. I mean, look, we can make up anything we want. We can say, oh, what they're really doing is this and that, and they're protecting him, and but this coaching staff doesn't arrive here with the moniker of being like stubborn jerks. Like they don't have that. So maybe there is more to this. Any thoughts on that, Frankie? What do you think? Of either what FOC said or if what I suggested. Do you think there's more to it that we're just kind of assuming isn't taking place? We just want to see him on the field, or what do you think?
Well, we'll have to see long term. I mean, what happens is we got to see the proof is in the pudding. If it turns out that this is what made Mims, this period of time is what made Mims an all a Pro Bowler, let's say, and every year after this he's a Pro Bowler and he's fantastic, and he comes back and he says, what really made me buckle down was Coach Saleh and Coach LaFleur. They sat me down. They said, look, the way you're going about things is not what we want. It's not sufficient, and we need you to do this, this, and this. And then I just said, you know what? They're right. I haven't been doing all the things I need to be doing. So then I started doing all the things they told me, and I got back on the field and I got the results and all of that flowed and da-da-da. So we'll have to see how it goes long term. And if that's the kind of thing they're doing, then that's going to buy them a lot of goodwill with the fan base to say, oh, wow, these guys really do know what they're doing. Whereas right now it kind of looks like they don't, but we don't have all the insider information. We don't know exactly what Denzel's doing. I've said on a couple of videos, listen, Denzel, whatever they're telling you to do, buddy, do it. Learn the why, learn the F, learn to be a tight end, play special teams, whatever it takes, buddy. They want you out there. If they tell you to do it, do it. Don't be stubborn. And I don't think he is. I mean, what I know of Denzel Mims, he's a good kid. He's quiet. He doesn't have a big personality like Keelan Cole does. Keelan Cole's very outgoing. That's why I said they should have a buddy cop movie together, because Keelan Cole's the outgoing one, extroverted, funny kind of guy. Right. And Denzel's quiet, and he's from a very small town in Texas called Dangerfield, Texas. Believe it or not, nobody's ever heard of this place. Even me. I lived in Texas for 6 years, and my job was driving around Texas to small towns, and I'd never heard of it. So he's from a very small place, but he's a four-sport athlete. He including being a baseball pitcher. He has relatives who are professional football players, so he's not a problem. He definitely doesn't have an attitude, as far as I know, and as far as I can tell. I mean, you never know. I mean, maybe he secretly is a jerk in all the meetings. I don't know. I know,
right? Look, there's always that possibility. And look, once resentment kicks into a man, like once somebody gets hurt, like they say, like once something is sour, it's hard to become unsour. Like, the old spoiled milk analogy. If you go to the fridge and you drink spoiled milk and you go, oh my God, that's sour, and you put it back in the fridge and come back the next day and you grab the same carton of milk, like once it turns, it's not going to get unsour on you, So things like that do happen when resentment kicks in. So even though he doesn't have that track record, and I've defended him with the almost as verbatim what you just said, I'm like, look, man, the book on this guy doesn't have that story in it yet. That chapter doesn't exist, so it would be brand new. At the same time, if he just kind of got butt hurt by LaFleur and said, look, I hate this guy, and it's just there, maybe things changed. Who knows? Everybody has that within them. Everybody's capable. But I think Jets gang is taking the other side. He just says they're dickheads. That's what he says. And maybe that's true. Maybe that is what it is. But the coaching
staff, Nobody in football thinks our coaches are dickheads. I mean, that much we know. I mean, they all have good reputations, every single one of them.
Yeah. Well, you look at LaFleur. LaFleur has look. Let me tell you a story. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys a story. This is a real story. It's true, and I'm going to protect the innocent here. But there was a time when I was a director, I used to take guys under my wing that I saw something in, and I would prop them up and I would build them up. So, because I knew that they could handle more responsibility. And some guys would thrive in that, and some would become something else. Very, very weird when they got to the position I wanted them in. Very few times that would happen. But one time, there was a guy who replaced me. Like I resigned from my position, and my right hand. They asked me how I thought about him. I said, absolutely. He's got this, that, the other. And he went into that position, and he became something that, and I've known him for 5, 6, 7 years, hard, like close. And he ended up being something that I never saw possible when he got the power. So it could be a weird thing. Who knows what this LaFleur is, Frankie? Maybe cute-faced LaFleur is the devil in sheep's clothing. Who knows? But I guess we'll find out, right? Like you said, if we find out in a couple of weeks that Mims was actually on board and this whole story was a Samini creation and all this kinds of stuff anyway, I think that would definitely buy some brownie points from the fans, man. That's what I think. But I do think Mims would have helped on that play, and I hope to see him sooner rather than later, especially with Crowder. You hear he doesn't look good for Sunday, man. Any thoughts on Crowder?
Crowder was a DNP today in practice, so he did not practice today or yesterday. So he's got one more day of practice, but it's not looking like he's going to. In promising news, however, guess who did practice today? Jamien Sherwood, and he was a full participant. FP. So that is very good news, and I don't think that we expected that. So it's looking like it's possible that Jamien Sherwood could be on the field on Sunday. So that would be great.
That would
and
be
John
great.
Franklin Myers.
Well, because BJ Goodson, the guy that we just is it Goodson? We just signed this guy 5 days ago, and he decided now's a good time to retire. So
yeah, who knows what's going on with that? He played 7 snaps on special teams and then he retires. I mean, what is that all about?
Maybe he got, he needed $50,000. He had $50,000 guaranteed. He said, "I'm out. See you later."
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for the memories, PJ.
Right. And obviously you hope he's all well and all that. Sincerely, you do. But it's just one of those things. It's like one more little chip in this little in this crazy situation that we have going on here. We get everybody injured, we bring a guy on, and he retires a week later. I'm still hoping that they bring in Avery Williamson so we can see one snap with Avery and Mosley on the field together. One snap, Frankie. That's all I want. That's all I want is one snap, Avery Williamson and CJ Mosley. I hope it's not a bad snap. I hope they don't give up a touchdown or something because of Avery Williamson's cover skills these days. But I think that would be nice, man. Any thoughts on signing Avery Williamson, or just want to ride with Sherwood now that he's back?
I mean, they had him in for a workout. They had a bunch of dudes in for a workout. So if they didn't like him, they didn't like him. I mean, obviously they know him, so they probably like him as a person. But if he's not looking good on the field, I mean, we got Sherwood coming back. And the thing is that we run a lot of defenses with 2 linebackers. Even Hamza only got like 18 or 20 snaps the last time, and he's not looking good, by the way. So I kind of hope Sherwood can come back. Hamza can be a healthy scratch. And then we have like a Quincy Williams to be LB3 or something like that. But we run a lot of nickel and even dime sometimes. So,
right.
We really could use 2 solid linebackers, being Mosley and hopefully Sherwood. I'd really like to see Sherwood and see how he plays. He only played very briefly in game 1.
Yeah. Nasruddin has been a bit of a disappointment, I think. But, it's funny when you look at it in the context of what we're looking at here is that we started 7 rookies. And truth be told, look, even Elijah Moore, the drops the first game, he looked pretty good. In week 2, we have Zach Wilson. He's doing his thing. We got Elijah Vera Tucker. Nice turnaround this week as far as progress would allude to. And then we have, Michael Carter II and Brandon Eccles. Look at all these rookies that we're starting, and one of them is one that we can say, it's a little disappointing. And he's a 6th round pick. So I think even if he does struggle, it doesn't mean that his career is over.
No.
It's, but it is interesting. And I think Sherwood would be optimal because this evaluation year that we're in the middle of, it would be nice if we could actually evaluate more guys than not.
Yeah, and even if it pushes Hamza to LB3 or LB4, let's say, so he's still in the game, he's still on the team, but he's just not getting a lot of snaps. Maybe that's the way he needs to learn, because I remember seeing Hamza in the preseason, and he looked lost in the preseason to me. He looked like he was tentative, he wasn't sure, and you don't want a defensive player who's tentative. That's the last thing you want. Yeah. So maybe he just needs to watch a little bit more from the sideline, let the game slow down for him a bit, and maybe if we get Sherwood back, we can still have quality linebackers out there, and do it that way. And then we have Quincy Williams as a LB3, who's not good, but for LB3, he's probably okay.
Well, that's just it. And we've talked about this before, look, we want our starters to be dominant, and you want your second tier to be to be able to come in and fill roles. But expecting all of your depth to be like rock stars, it's right. Truly not unrealistic. I mean, you're not going to be able to do that, especially for a team like the Jets, who has not even been able to field a competent first team for a decade, or just about, with give or take, But I think a guy like a Quincy Wilson, who did have a nice play, it was a little bit of a highlight play this last week, that really nice read from him, but he has some talent, and another young guy that we can develop a little bit and maybe keep around for. And look, if you can have second string guys that are on your team for 4 or 5 years, know the system inside and out, and they're just not going to break into the starting lineup, but they're good depth, special teams, solid depth. That's another whole skill in and of itself, is to have that around, man. You think Quincy Wilson has that kind of ability, or you think he's just kind of a warm body for this year, and we'll see him depart next year? What do you think?
Well, he has a very high missed tackle rate, and has historically in his career, and that's not good because he plays linebacker. And in linebacking, you have to tackle people. And so when you're missing your tackles, that's not so good. On the positive side, maybe he can stay healthy and, occasionally make a big play, and he occasionally, makes a big hit. And, it's like, well, what about how valuable is Blake Cashman? No matter how good Blake Cashman's a great tackler. Too bad he's never on the field, because
never,
it doesn't matter how good a tackler you are if you're never on the field. So there's something to be said about availability. And then but then on the other side, he's not great. He misses a lot of tackles. So,
yeah. And you got a point there. I mean, when you're a linebacker, there are a few things more important than your ability to tackle.
Yeah. I mean, you could run around all day, but you got to actually bring a guy down who has the ball.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm gonna turn it over to the chat for a little bit. I saw some interesting chats here. So it's Snoopy. What's up, buddy? He says, I'm not trying to be negative, but we as fans always try to give this regime the benefit of the doubt. But when we see these same red flags, it's hard to trust. Any thoughts on that? I mean, I think that's well said. It's Snoopy. I mean, it's we've been here a long time, and it does tend to start looking similar, doesn't it? So what do you think of that, Frankie? You think we're giving them a little bit too much benefit, or where do you land on that one?
Well, we're scarred. We have a lot of scars, GreenBean. The last 10 years have been extremely difficult. In the last 10 years, the Jets have had an above average offense once. One season above average offense, 9 seasons below average offense. Oh. Just as an example, we have been suffering for a long time. Think about it like Coach Tomlin. When Coach Tomlin does something here in Pittsburgh, you think anybody questions it?
Right.
Why? Because he's been here for 15 years and they win all the time. I don't think he's had a losing season his entire career as a head coach.
Not one.
He's an amazing coach. So when he answers a question, like they ask him, is Najee Harris a work in progress? He just goes, we're all works in progress. Next question.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, and they say, are you evaluating these things? He goes, we're still squirreling those nuts. Next question. Like what? But you love it. And you go, well, he's got a system and it works because he's been stable. The organization has systems in place and he's won. And that's why it's so important for Zach Wilson or whoever. If not Zach Wilson, I don't know if Zach Wilson's going to be good or bad, but hopefully at some point you get a franchise quarterback because you need that person to be in place for 20 years so that you can build everything else because the quarterback is so singularly important in football.
Right. You know, I think that's really a good point too. Like when you look at some place that's stable, they can make any moves they want. You tend to trust them. Where with us, we tend to be leery a little bit like, I like that guy. Why don't they like that guy? Because we haven't really had much stability here. But I think the best thing I can say, it's Snoopy, is this. And Frankie and I were talking about it a few minutes ago. One is we have to realize, even though we as fans have been going through this forever with different faces, same results forever, the truth of the matter is that this is the first year with these guys. Now, number one, Joe Douglas came in, and he's the first GM in memory, like really since Parcells, to come in and clean house. 90% cleaned house, all the way from scouts to medical people to big payday players, big names, Le'Veon Bell. He didn't give a shit. If they weren't part of his plan, they're gone. And that's something that we've never seen. The hierarchy, up until I think it was, what was it, July or when did we fire? I don't know my months anymore, Frank. I'm on the road. I don't know what's going on. When did we fire Adam Gase? Was that February? Right? Something like that?
Something
February.
like that.
Something.
Yeah.
So it was 2 weeks or so after we fired Adam Gase that Chris Johnson said, hey, we think we're going to change the reporting structure. So since February, we've actually had a GM that has total control. That's it. Anything before that is bullshit. We hired Robert Saleh, a couple months after that. This is 2 games into this season. So I know it's frustrating for us, especially when you go in the stadium and you see what looked a lot like Mark Sanchez throwing 4 interceptions, or Geno Smith, or any other name you want to stick in there. The results look the same, but the truth is this is brand new. We have now hired respectable people. The reporting structure is in place. The medical team is in place. Like everything's in place. Now we have to give them a minute to actually sink their teeth into this thing and change what our results are. Elijah Moore said it today. Hey man, we're shooting for greatness. We're trying to change the culture of this place. And you don't hear our players talking like that too often. No, we're trying to change the culture here. This is a losing organization. So I think it's a good question, Snoopy, but at the same time, I think that there are reasons why we can feel a little bit better now than maybe the last few years. One last thing on that. There's a big difference between a throwaway year, just a shit year, and a building year. And we've said rebuilding a lot, but when you look at Mike McCagnon drafting a quarterback 3rd overall, and then his next pick takes a defensive tackle, and that's not building. That's complete. That's just filling the roster. And we knew that year when McCown was starting with Hackenberg and Petty behind, we knew there's nothing happening this year. There's no growth. There's no development. There's nothing going on. Now it's a completely different thing. We suck for a reason. You know what I mean? Instead of just sucking, there is a difference.
Yeah.
Let me get to a couple more here. Adrian Gutierrez, what's up, buddy? He says, from what I've seen, Joe Douglas doesn't know how to draft. The smartest thing he has done was hire Robert Saleh. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. Frankie, what do you think? You think Joe Douglas doesn't know how to draft yet? What are your thoughts?
Well, as we were talking about, the 2020 draft could have 4 or 5 guys. If that happens, that's a successful draft. 2021 draft, everyone gave us an A plus. And so far, I mean, you got to wait and see. Plus it also takes 2 to 3 years. Everybody says, people usually say 3 years to know if you had a good draft or not. So he's had 2 drafts and it hasn't been 3 years. So too early to tell, but the 2020 draft was half Douglas, half Gase. So you got to chalk that up.
Yeah.
And then this year was all Douglas, although with, obviously with consultation with the coaches, but ultimately the final decision was Douglas because he's the boss of the entire team except for the owner. So,
Yeah.
and this year looks like we got, we at least, you could say about this year, did get contributors. Zach Wilson's on the field, AVT's on the field, Elijah Moore's on the field, Michael Carter's on the field, Michael Carter 2's on the field, Sherwood's on the field, Hamps is on all these guys are on the field. So at least they're playing.
Yeah, so I think the jury's still out, Adrian. The last year's the 2020 draft, if it wasn't for injuries, I think we could have a better idea. But I think the jury's still out on that one too. I wanna make a comment, guys. I see like a fight in the chat. John Post, Blunted Vegas, two regulars, man, regular good dudes, both of you. Let's just cool it, man. There's no reason to fight each other. There's no reason for it, and I hate to see it, man. We're all in here just trying to help each other cope with shit. And I'm going to tell you right now, we disagree with each other on things. And guess what? It's totally fine. I disagree with more people than I agree with. I want you to know that. Sometimes I'm nice to people and just let them think I agree. But most of the time I disagree. You guys know I say all kinds of stupid shit. So just let's keep it cool, huh? Let's just, wherever it is now, let's just put the brakes on it. I happen to like both of you guys and whoever else is involved. That's the only two I saw really quickly. I didn't even read them. I just saw it happening. So let's just cool it. Okay. Let's be nice and let's have a good night. Let's have a good night. We're about to watch the Jets win their first game in a couple days. So Watu-K chimes in and says Adam Gase was actually fired January 3rd. So thank you, Watu-K. That's actually, See, what was I saying? July? What's wrong with me? What's the matter with me?
That was Happy New Year for Jets fans. Happy New Year.
Dude, I made a video for Jetnation where I was literally dancing. I made two. One had like Spanish music. I made one of those. And then another one where I was literally running in a circle, jumping up and down, dancing. Because I didn't know if it was going to happen. I really didn't know. So okay, so we're gonna get to a couple more chats, and then we're gonna switch over to this week's game. I want to talk a lot about this week's game. We're just about 1 hour in. I wanted to address that stuff. I know once an argument starts, it's hard to kind of just end it without getting the last word. Just end it, man. Just stop. All right, let's just chill. And let's talk about this. So I want to find, there was one more comment. I think it was Adrian again. I want to find it. It looked good. What was he saying? He said something. Where is it? It's far away. I don't know. Maybe I lost it, Adrian. Oh, there it is. Got it. I just was going to give up, buddy. He says, I'm a Niner fan. I have seen Robert Saleh coach a Niner defense without Bosa and banged up secondary, and the Niners had a top 10 defense. Top 5, actually, if I remember correctly. Saleh is a winner. You Jets fans have no patience. Well, hey, man, don't be nice to us, man. We're abused kids, Adrian.
We got scars. We're scarred.
Think about this. When the Niners suck, it's between Super Bowl appearances. When we suck, it's between devastatingly painful almost seasons. So, yeah, man, we're a touchy bunch. You got that right, but there's a reason. You can't. It's like when guys come back from a battle and they're afraid of fireworks. It's like you can't go. What's the matter with you? It's fireworks. Oh, guy's got beat up out there, man. He's got So where football is concerned, we have a lot of scars, but I appreciate you being here. It's nice to have you around and be able to tell us your thoughts on Saleh. The thing is, man, we've had great, quote unquote, great reputation coaches. Peyton Manning calling our owner about Adam Gase. He's misunderstood. He's the best coach I ever worked with. And here we are. So you know how it goes. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I also want to remind everybody, Frankie from Flatbush also has a YouTube channel. It has very quickly become one of my favorite channels. I have nothing but respect for Frankie and his opinion and the level of research that he puts in too. He's got another guy with him, Jeremy. He's not so good, but he's not always with Jeremy. That's just one show. You can avoid that really easily. I'm just kidding. Jeremy is also the host of the co-host with me on Saturday mornings on our New York Jets Worldwide pod. JetStream. So where we last week we had Gangrene Germany on, which was super cool, man. So I'd love it if you guys could follow me here, sub here, like here, but also take a second and head over to Frankie from Flatbush's channel and give him a sub. You won't be disappointed. I mean that. So let's see here. So Raul Barrios says, "Sup, Frankie? What's up, Greenbean? What's up, Frankie? I've looked into my crystal ball, and it tells me the Jets are on the right track. This young team just needs time. They will start to gel, but it will be gradual with highs and lows." Man, Raul Barrios, I'm going to give you my personal phone number, and I want you to look into a few things for me, too. On a personal note, we'll do that later. But so, Frankie, when all's said and done here, I mean, look, we're 0-2. We had a really bad first game as far as the wide receivers, the offensive line, all that sort of stuff. But Zach Wilson looked good. Week 2, everyone kind of settled down for the most part. There was undeniable progress in many respects. But Zach Wilson decided to have a complete clunker. Do you feel like we are headed in the right direction, or are we spinning our wheels? Like, we've talked a lot about the details in it, but just grand scheme, do you think we're moving the right way?
I do. And let me give you some optimism and some reasons for thinking that Zach Wilson maybe wasn't as bad as we thought he's been. And I'd like to talk a little bit about DVOA, if you don't mind, Greenbean.
That's fine.
This is defense adjusted value over average. And I have a video about this coming out tomorrow morning. But DVOA tells us that as of week 2, the two out of the 3 top defenses in the entire NFL are number 1, Carolina, number 3, New England. And those are the 2 that Zach had to play in his first season. Welcome to the NFL, Zach Wilson. And by the way, Carolina, according to that metric, is far and away the best defense in the NFL.
So talk a little bit about DVOA, if you can. I don't want to put you on the spot or anything if you don't feel like you're in the position to explain a little bit, but just for people, like, just so we know what we're talking about, like, what does that entail? What does that mean? What does that encapsulate when you say they're the first in DVOA?
Yeah, so it comes from footballoutsiders.com, which I highly recommend. Check out footballoutsiders.com. They come up with this, their own statistic that they invented, and they look at all the plays. So similar to PFF, they're grading each and every play that happens in the entire NFL, every game. And they say, okay, what is an average defense? And by the way, through 2 games, the Jet defense is exactly average, and that would be 0. They figure out the calculation. Don't ask me about how they calculate it, but they say, what is average? And in our case, the Jets turn out to be just average, exactly average right now, as after 2 games. And then they say, okay, what's better than average and what's below average? And if you're the lower your score in DVOA for defense, they also have DVOA for offense, but you have to have a negative score for defense, how they do it. And the lower your score, the better. And so the Carolina Panthers are currently negative 52%. And the next closest is the Buffalo Bills. They're number 2. It's like 34%. And then it's the Patriots, 24%. So in other words, Carolina is 52% better than an average defense is what it's telling you, which is phenomenal. And it's far and away the best defense in the whole league, according to this metric. And then you have the Patriots 3rd. And these are the teams that Zach had to face in his first 2 games.
Let me present to you. I just want to hear your thoughts on this. Could they be so highly rated in DVOA because they played the lowly Jets and made them look like that?
In fact, that's what I say in the video.
Yeah.
The video coming out tomorrow, I say, well, it's only 2 games of data, and each of these teams played us. So it could be that.
Right. There's, hey, it all depends on how you look at it, right? But they did have other games. Look what Carolina did to the Saints. That was surprising to me, honestly. I didn't think they'd be able to shut them down like they did. But yeah, man. So it is, we can stack up things that do sound from just a naked ear, somebody just popping into our conversation. If they heard us, they'd be like, look, first of all, we got a rookie head coach. We got a rookie offensive coordinator. We got a GM that this is the first year he's ever been a GM. We got a brand new medical staff. We started 7 rookies this year and 3 second-year players, most of them 5th-round picks or later. We have 2 undrafted free agents from the last year starting. We have this and that and this. Our guys are injured. We lost Carl Lawson, Vinny Curry. We lost Jared Davis. Oh, it does sound like we got just a litany of excuses, and this would line up right in there. Look at the 2 teams that we played. But facts are facts, aren't they? Am I off here? Like, a fact, just because they stack together and make a list of excuses, aren't they still facts, Frankie?
Well, they are. And I think you have to look at things in context. I think one of the things I try to do on my channel is put things into context so people can can think about things in a better way, because you have to understand context. It's not like we were going against the Houston Texans and the Detroit Lions. If we played those teams, we probably would have had different results. And Zach really didn't play that poorly. In game 1, we all saw he had a great second half. And then even in game 2, which was terrible, I mean, 0 touchdowns, 4 picks, it's hard to say that's good. But on the other hand, Corey Davis didn't help him out on 2 of them. And in another one, Elijah Moore didn't run a right route, I think. And then on the other one, he just made a bad pass. So, and also something else I saw on Tim Jenkins' channel today, if Elijah Moore had run, you remember that one on the left sideline where Moore caught a long ball and then was out of bounds? He was supposed to run on the bottom of the numbers, not on the outside of the boundary where it was a toe tap. If he ran that pattern on the bottom of the numbers, it's a touchdown.
Yeah, right. That's what I said. I was sitting next to Matt O'Leary in the stands, and I'm like, I hate complaining about such a beautiful play, especially with this day. But come on. You know what I mean? That was a touchdown, man.
It was a touchdown. So the receivers, everybody's learning. Look, we're also installing a new offense. For anybody, veterans, rookies, second-year players, we're installing the West Coast offense right now, and apparently it's complicated. There's a lot of, when people say complicated, they say, what does that mean? Well, what that means, as far as I understand it, is there's a lot of read routes. So that means there's a lot of chance for miscommunication. Zach could read it one way and Corey reads it another way. And if you do that and you throw it and the guy intercepts it, it's like, what the hell is he doing? And it's because they read it the wrong way.
Yeah. It's totally incredible, man. And this is why I'm telling you guys right now, and this is why I'm so excited. It's that rather than waste this year with kind of feathering in more vets just to kind of pacify, the people that want to win maybe one more game or whatever it is, they're taking this time. And just like what Frankie said, these are items where once receivers and quarterbacks play a long time together, tight ends, cornerbacks and linebackers, like once these guys read each other well, telepathically communicate, that's when things like that work more than not. The reason it never works for us is because every friggin' year we're starting a new cornerback or new receivers. Look at Sam Darnold's experience here, man. He had a different batch of receivers every single year and different offensive linemen. So the fact that he never clicked with anybody, it's not hard to see why. And then he didn't have a quarterback coach, and that's a whole different thing. But we're taking this time now, taking our lumps. Let's get Zach Wilson, Elijah Moore, and all these guys on the field together now. They did the same thing with the defense. It's like, I guess we could keep Bless on Austin. He's not so good that he's better than getting Brandon Echols his time on the field. Let's let these guys play together, because if they do actually warrant staying on the field, damn, are they going to be good with each other? Because we got 4 or 5 years of this team playing together with yearly upgrades by drafting. And that's the way to do it, man. That's why I'm so freaking excited, Frank. I really am. It's like, while we see this now, it's like, damn, this could be good.
And if you think about it, even in game 2 against the New England Patriots, the greatest team of all time, Billy Belichick, he's so good he needs to cheat. Well, everybody played well in that game except Zach and the wide receivers, I think. Well, and the tight ends, maybe. Okay, not everybody, but the offensive line played good. The running backs played really well. The defense played incredible. The only guy who was really bad on defense was Hamza. So if we get Sherwood back, our defense could be really good. If Sherwood is a big upgrade over Hamza and gets many more snaps, our defense could be very good. And if the offensive line holds up, and if GVR could just improve a little bit, Mr. GVR, please get improved, because he's like the worst one by far. And if he improves a little bit, and then Zach just makes a couple of better decisions and they get on the same page a little, we could really have something this year, maybe. It's all about, when does that light go on?
Right. When does it click together? When does that happen? And it could happen anytime. I mean, shit, going into this season, we thought the offense was going to drag the defense with it, but the defense happens to be a little bit ahead of the game. Now, look, we haven't played a juggernaut yet. Like, we haven't played Derrick Henry, let's say. We don't know how that's going to, how we're going to handle that. We don't know how we're going to handle some of these other teams. But the truth is that getting them on the field every game and actually getting them this experience together as a unit is absolutely invaluable. So real quick, I want to take a little break, if you will. I read Green Dog says that Darnold is slicing up Texas, and then a few comments later, it said the Panthers lost the ball. So as you guys know, I can't watch this game. NFL Network is the one thing I don't have. I have everything else, including Game Pass, but they won't let me watch this. So what's going on? Talk to me. Adam, you have any updates for us over here? What's the game looking like?
Oh, you bring me on. Yes. So let's see. Right now, there's Kelsey and Tony Gonzalez film session coming up, but tune in to NFL Game Day morning, Sunday at 9 a.m.
Okay. What's the score and everything? So what happened? Did Carolina have a fumble or a pick?
I was actually kind of watching the chat on that, but McCaffrey hurt his hamstring. He's in the tent. He has the ball on their own 14, 2nd and 11. 8:40 to go in the second quarter. Davis Mills so far 3 for 4 for a very impressive 14 yards.
Right.
Wow.
And so the Panthers are continuing my theory of they're the fiercest defense in the league. They're shutting them out, and they're not doing now this is against the Texans. So, but still they're playing amazing defense. So it's not like,
so it's 7-0.
That's it.
It's 7-0 Panthers. Matthias Simon says, like, I always want to call you Matt 56, Matt. But so has Darnold been relying on CMC the whole game, and now he's hurt? What's going on with that? McCaffrey's out for the game, Holton says.
Most likely, yeah. Well, I can. Let's pull some up. I know he's been going to who's it? Is Marshall number 2? I believe is that.
No,
is
DJ
that
Moore.
It's DJ Moore. He's had a few good connections with DJ Moore.
Okay.
I've seen quite a few.
DJ Moore is really good.
Yeah,
DJ Moore is
right,
so
dude.
good.
Dude, their receiving core is stout. And look, they're young too. So that's another thing. If Darnold has these guys for a while with Joe Brady and Matt Rule and all, like, if they work together and keep this team together, this could be the best possible scenario for Sam Darnold. I mean, look, if McCaffrey's healthy, that would obviously help the thing. But this is what Sam Darnold never had, man. So, like, I can't say I'm rooting for him. Like, I don't root for non-Jets. I don't do it unless what they're doing affects the Jets positively. But I'm not rooting against Sam. Like, Sam never did anything, man. Sam never did anything wrong. He just sucked. You know what I mean? With his situation.
Never did anything wrong.
Okay. Right. So
I will mention DJ Moore, 6 catches on 9 targets for 100 yards already, and we're only halfway through the first quarter.
He is so good. He's the receiver Sam always needed.
Robbie has nothing.
And Robbie's running 9 routes. Probably Robbie's running 9 routes all day, or post routes.
Yeah, the Robbie.
But he'll hit one. He'll hit one for like 80 yards.
Yeah, and that's all you need, because not for nothing, he's pulling at least one cornerback and usually a safety with him. That's what's going on out there.
And you know who else could do that? Denzel Mims. That's who.
You took my idea.
We think alike, Adam.
Y2K, we're going to get to you in a second. I wanted to touch base with you on some of the stats on Denver, if you can. You got all that?
Yep, I got a few numbers. In fact, I'm getting familiar with DVOA myself right now. I'll have a little more for you.
Everybody's
pretty
learning.
Cool. It's pretty cool.
Everybody's
for nerds,
learning.
like me.
Frankie, they call you Frankie Spreadsheets. So everybody's learning. So here, I'm gonna get up and get myself a drink real quick. I'll be back in 10 seconds. Why don't you tell us, Y2K, what does Denver look like on offense? What are we going to be expecting to see? And I'll be right back. 30 seconds.
Okay. So some of the things that I'm seeing here, most of us know that Teddy Bridgewater has had a pretty good start to the season against some pretty poor teams. He's completed 78% of his passes, 4 touchdowns, no picks. He's got a 120.7 quarterback rating. I think one of the things that's a little surprising is that Denver is running the ball pretty well, but they're not running very well up the middle. So they have gained on 15 carries into the A gap between the center and the guards. They have amassed 7 yards before contact. So Foley Fatukasi, Sheldon Rankins, Quinn Williams, they can really do a number on this running game. That is one of the big advantages I really see here for the Jets. But Denver is 7th in yards per game, 409 yards. And another thing, they're 8th in points per drive. Not points per game, but points per drive with 2.6 points. So certainly losing Jerry Jeudy is going to make a pretty big impact. But Cortland Sutton's really looking good at this point. 9 catches on 12 targets last week. He's averaging 17.3 yards per catch after missing last year with torn ACL. So Sutton's one guy that I am a little worried about, and and also one other matchup to really watch here is John Franklin Myers. I want to see how he does against their right tackle Bobby Massey. Massey was a right tackle. If you haven't heard of him, don't worry, I'm with you on that. But he was in Chicago for 5 years, and he has already allowed 9 quarterback pressures in 2 games. That is the 3rd worst in the NFL for right tackles. So, JFM, I want to see a big game from him this week.
I'll throw in a couple of fun facts about the Denver Broncos that'll be fun to watch. Of course, their running back, one of their main running backs is Javonte Williams. So that's Michael Carter's running mate from UNC. So they're bros. And in addition to that, George Fant's brother, Noah Fant, is their tight end. And not sure if he's going to play. He's on the injury report, but hopefully he plays. So it's sort of the Fant reunification game.
See that? I loved Noah Fant coming out, man.
Yeah, and of course the Vic Fangio defense. Vic Fangio is a very famous defensive coach, known as a genius defensive coach, and Coach Saleh worked for Vic Fangio, I think, for 1 season at some point. So he's very familiar with the Fangio defense and what Vic Fangio might want to do on defense. And of course, they have perhaps the greatest linebacker of all time, Von Miller. Look up his PFF grades. He's like 90 and above every single year. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, he's one of the great ones, man. So did you talk about, I heard Teddy Bridgewater and that he's playing well. Who's his number 1 target right now? Do we know that one?
I would probably go with Cortland Sutton. And now that Jerry Jeudy IR, he has a high ankle sprain. I think Noah Fant could be the beneficiary of some of those targets.
Wow. They also have KJ Hamler, I believe.
KJ Hamler. Yeah. Another one I liked coming out as a late round pick. In that 2020 draft, I was absolutely convinced that we were going to grab more than 1 wide receiver. I was betting, if I wasn't actually I was as close as I get to actually betting, I was guaranteeing 2 wide receivers, potentially 3. That's what I was saying. And nope. So that's how that goes. But so how do we feel?
Did it inspire you?
What's that?
Lawrence Cager as an undrafted free agent doesn't count. Inspire you?
Yeah. I will. Well, inspiration, no. Hope, sure. I was surprised though. Aren't you guys surprised about the fact that we didn't even bring him back on the practice squad this year? What do you guys think of that, Frankie? What do you think?
I watched Lawrence Cager, and I think I said this before too. I didn't trust his hands. There's something about the way he catches the ball that just I didn't. When you watch a guy and you just think, oh, that guy's reliable. Like with Berrios. Berrios gets his hands around the ball. I think he's catching it. Like there's no question. Cager, whatever reason, I don't know if it's hand placement or what it is technique wise, but I never got a good feeling. And he's a big, fast guy. So of course, he's going to get a chance. And I don't know if he landed on anybody else's practice squad. I didn't hear anything about him, but So he's big and he's
Yep.
fast, but I never liked his hands much myself, just watching him.
Yeah. Well, that's really so. Look, wait, real quick. You're talking about Frankie's channel not being in the description. I thought I put it in there. As a matter of fact, I know I did. So go back and refresh, maybe.
Or
I
just
do
search.
work.
You can just search Frankie from Flatbush. There's only one Frankie from Flatbush.
Yeah, if you type it all in. I'm sorry about that. For any confusion, I try to put whoever's on the show, their stuff in there. Of course, I want to show you guys. If you don't know about somebody that comes on, I want you guys to know. And you know what, Y2K, you could also throw something out there too. Is there a way to contact the Virginia Jets fan club that you are the president of?
Wow.
Yeah, the best thing to do is we had about 60 or 65 people week 1 in Norfolk, Virginia. It was fantastic. And actually this week I'm hosting trivia. So I got some framed photographs of some Jets legends, and this week I'm going to be doing jersey numbers. So I've already got a few good ones picked out. So we'll see how smart my fan club is. But yep, the best way is on Facebook. Just look up Virginia Jets fans. We got about 560 members or so, and the club's been around since, I believe, 1990. It's fantastic. I've been affiliated with it since 2017 when I first moved to Virginia from Chicago. So I was made the president in 2019, and I love doing it.
That's awesome. So I'm actually going to be coming down there to do a live stream from the Virginia Jets fan club. And that is, what was the date on it? That's the away New England game. Was it the 24th? Is that what it is? October 24th?
October 24th, 1 p.m. Be there or beware.
Yeah. So we are cordially inviting everyone down to the Virginia Jets fan club down in Norfolk, Virginia. I'll be running the Jetnation live stream while we take on the Patriots. We get a revenge game, if you will. We get to go into their house and do what they did to us in our house. And I think by that time, like Frankie was alluding to, I think we'll be clicking a little bit better by that time. I'm ready. So I appreciate you being here too, Y2K. It's just awesome. So Broadway Joel, who I got to hang out with a little bit at the opening, the home opener this week. I actually got to meet Broadway Joel originally at the Coney Island Cyclone Jets chant event. That was just awesome, and he was one of the participants in that with John Amarella and some others, Three Amigos and George, and obviously Sack Exchange and O'Leary and everybody else. But he says, shout out to GreenBean for letting everyone know we are allowed to boo on Instagram. Now, I still want to focus on Denver, but real quick, I'd like to touch on this. Any thoughts? And I'll do Frankie and then Adam real quick. What do you think about us booing? Now, I was there, and I'm going to tell you, quite frankly, I didn't boo the first one. I didn't boo the second one. I think right around the third one, that was when my boo canister came out. And I booed. So any thoughts on us booing our golden boy, Zach Wilson, during his 4-pick game, Frankie?
Well, I think, one thing that annoys me is when some fans try to tell other fans how to be fans. I think everybody should, be a fan however you like, unless it, don't be violent and, throw batteries on the field or something like that. But other than that, everybody's free to root however they choose as a fan. Now, I would not particularly boo. I don't believe in booing someone unless they're not trying. Like if somebody's just being a jerk and not putting in effort, or something crazy like that, and they're just dogging it, or they're just doing something stupid like overly taunting. I don't mind celebrating, but I also don't like taunting the other team. I don't think it should be a penalty unless it's egregious. But, if those sorts of things, then I would boo. But if a person's trying and they're just not performing, I'm not going to boo unless there's other circumstances, like maybe it's been 20 years and they still stink and something.
Yeah.
But that's just me. But I don't think that some fans, I see it on Twitter all the time. Like, if you boo, then you have to turn in your season tickets. And if you boo, then you're not allowed in the tailgate. It's like, no, stop it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So what do you think, Adam? Would you boo, or what do you think of us jerks that decided to unleash the fury on our...
Here's what I would was the booing really directed straight at Zach Wilson, or is it for the last 10 years of complete incompetence and for the last 50 plus years without a Super Bowl? I think
You know what? That's a good point.
We're booing our scars. We're booing our pain. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's booing. I can't believe this is what we're doing again today after just the finest of mornings. That parking lot was electric. I can't remember it feeling like that in a decade. Honestly, I went there 2019, 2018. It didn't feel like that. Even though it was upbeat, it didn't feel like that since like Rex. That was the last time I felt that energy. So to walk in there and see that, it was like, boo.
But what really happened, GreenBean, to tell you the truth? Those 2 interceptions stopped the momentum. After I watched your video, and I encourage everyone to go watch all of GreenBean's videos, and he has a great one up, I think today or yesterday, about your experience at the game. And it was really interesting to watch because I've never been to a professional football game, because when I was a kid, you couldn't get tickets. There was no tickets for unspecial people like me, the unwashed masses. I was in the schoolyard of PS 207. They didn't let us into the games. We had to go play in PS 207. So I've never been to a pro game. So it was fascinating to see what was going on in the parking lot, the tailgates, and everybody having a great time. And then you think, these people get there at 8:00 in the morning?
Yeah.
And they start partying basically and having a great time, and everybody's dancing and music and and then the game comes and you're like, hey, and now we're excited about the game. And then Zach Wilson throws a pick. And then the next time you go, okay, well, that was one, let's go. And then he throws another pick. Like right off the bat.
Right.
He basically stopped the momentum of hours and hours and hours of good feelings.
Right.
And
Totally.
he just happened, like we couldn't even get a drive going. It was this first throw on each drive.
Yeah.
And so that's, I think, what happened is that there was just like a big momentum stopper, those 2 picks.
Yeah, and it sucked the life. There wasn't one, like we did 6 Jets chants from like the announcing of the players until kickoff. It was like nonstop full stadium Jets chants. We didn't do one more the rest of the game.
Yeah,
that's what it did.
It killed the momentum in the whole stadium, and that was just that was just horrible circumstance. If he had thrown 4 picks differently, like if the drive had gotten going and we made some momentum and things are rocking and rolling, and then he throws a pick, would have been like, all right, okay. But he didn't even it was like stopping a tidal wave or something. Like
it really was. That's a good point. So, and like I like Frankie's point, really. And actually Y2K's point too. But it's like the truth is do whatever you want to do, as long as you're not pouring beer on people that don't ask you to, and things like that. As long as you're not disturbing the peace, or fucking boo if you want to boo. If you don't like booing, then don't boo. That's the way I see it too. And I think you're on to something, Y2K. It's like, you know what? That might not have been just those interceptions that we were booing. That was years.
But I'm actually gonna ask you a question, if I may, since you were in the building. I actually already had a bad omen with the Kendrick Bourne fumble that was taken away from us by the referees on the first drive of the game before Zach Wilson's first interception. Did you feel a change in the vibe in the stadium on that fumble, or was it really when the interception started?
Well, that didn't change the vibe. It angered us. We were furious as a fan base. It was like, that's fucking bullshit. It was like, it was that energy. So it wasn't necessarily bubbly positive anymore, but the energy was still high. The interceptions sucked the life out of the place. Everybody just kind of sat there and said, here we are again. Like, we know what we're about to watch. So that's kind of what happened. But yeah, man, what a good time that was. And you're right, Frankie, thanks for mentioning it. My most recent Green Beans Jets pod, which is available now on this very channel on YouTube, gives you a window into what we were experiencing in the parking lot. You have Jetnation in there. We have obviously O'Leary and Ryan and Sack Exchange and the Let's Talk Jets guys and Fireman Ed and everybody. We have everybody in that video. I was able to make really impressive rounds, man. I saw the who's who, in my opinion. So really a good time. So I saw a few. John Post has a good comment here, and I want to get your thoughts on it. It's 20 years ago today that Mo Lewis absolutely crushed Drew Bledsoe, which effectively started the Tom Brady era. That was 20 years ago today. Any thoughts? Any venting? I happen to still love myself some Mo Lewis. Any thoughts? You want to dump anything? Adam, I'll start with you real quick.
It is very hard for me to be objective when it comes to this particular topic after spending a good amount of time in New England for college and whatnot. Yeah. I'm starting to think of this the same way. I'm also a Mets fan. I'm thinking about that the same way as I kind of do about Bobby Bonilla Day every year when it's time to pay him his annual check. It's like, I don't need to be reminded of this anymore. It has little, if anything, to do with us. Look, if the dynasty was going to happen, it was going to happen anyway. We just happen to be the cause of it that one particular place. So to me, I don't want to say it's as overhyped as the butt fumble, but I'm thinking that and the butt fumble are two of the most overly hyped and talked about things, because the Jets were going to get killed on that game Thanksgiving night anyway. It wasn't going to change. And if Brady really is that good, whatever, of course he's had a fantastic career. Not going to take that away from him. It's been very deflating to watch him do that. But
it's
it would have
Mo's fault. It's not Mo.
Right. Yeah, I can't blame Mo for that. Just like I can't blame Brandon Moore's ass for being in the way of Mark Sanchez when he ran into it.
Right. Frankie, you have any thoughts? You want to dump any pain or anything about the 20-year anniversary of the Tom Brady era?
Well, it goes in GreenBean. It goes into the category of the LOL Jets, the LOLs Jets category, and there's a large category of things. It's the fake spike. It's the butt fumble. It's everything like that. It's Rex Ryan's weird foot fetish crap. It's all of those things in the category of LOLs Jets, and there's only one way to address that, and that is to win. We must win the game. Hello. That's another thing. The Herm Edwards hello. We have to win not the game, but the Super Bowl numerous times, and then all of that LOLs Jet stuff goes away, and we become a winning franchise. And that's why it's so important to watch very carefully these coaches, the Joe Douglas, the scouts, because we need the processes in place, the pipelines in place to become a good, solid franchise every single year, no matter what happens.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. I think we've gotten a little confused over the years on what the goals have been. I think if we just decide to work on winning some games, a lot's going to change around here. I think you're onto something, Frankie.
We don't need genius offensive systems created by Adam Gase in his basement to come out and fool everybody. We just need to win. That's all.
Yeah, that's it. So I want to get to a super chat from our Australian friend Bismo Charismo. He's probably on a work break right now. He likes to sneak out and jump in our Jets chats, which I sincerely appreciate, but I would hate to hear that you ever get in trouble, man. But it's good to have you here. He says, great show as always, guys. What has to go our way to beat Denver? I'm hoping for an upset, as am I. So, Frankie, what do you think has to go our way to beat Denver? Are we looking at like a tall order of 15 things having to happen, or is it simple? What do you think?
No, I think it's pretty simple. First of all, we have to block. Second of all, we have to tackle. Third of all, Zach has to play well. If everything holds the same as the second game, pretty much our offensive line plays well. The defense is stifling and good and isn't on the field so much. They were on the field too much, really. But and the only problem with the New England game was Zach, and you could say the wide receivers, because Corey Davis shouldn't have dropped those passes. So if the passing game, Zach and the receivers get on the same page and do what they can do, and if the defense and offensive line plays the same, we got a great chance. Now, is it going to be easy? No, because Denver has a great team. They have an excellent defense. Although if you look at DVOA, they're like 12th. So they're not. Helpful. Yeah. They're not, and they haven't played us. So one thing I say in the video tomorrow is, well, they haven't played us yet, so they may be bulleting up the charts. So we'll see how that goes.
That's great.
But nonetheless, they have Von Miller. I mean, now two of their linebackers are out. Jewell, who's a young linebacker who's very promising, he's out, and Bradley Chubb, who's also very, very good.
Who was the first guy you said?
Jewell.
Oh, right.
He's basically the communicator of their defense. He had 112 tackles last year, so I'm hoping for communication breakdowns on the Denver defense. Maybe that'll create some open space.
Yeah,
Nice.
and they also do have Pat Surtain, so some folks may remember him from the draft, and he's been playing very well as far as I understand it. So they're going to be tough. I mean, it's not going to be easy, but if Zach really and the wide receivers play better and play like they're capable, then we have a chance.
Nice. Y2K, what do you think? Do you agree with Frankie? Is that it? You got any more specifics you want to add to the pile here?
Yeah, I do have a few specifics here. By the way, not only is Bradley Chubb on IR, but so is Ronald Darby. Pretty solid cornerback. He's not going to play in this game, but they do have Kyle. That's the guy. That was one of the veterans I really want to see the Jets sign.
Kyle Fuller, right?
I'm a guy. But here's one stat I haven't heard anybody talk about that I think is pretty interesting. You know, the Jets have the worst starting field position in the NFL so far through 2 games. Their own 26-yard line.
Really?
Let's turn that around a little bit. Let's get some better field position. Maybe not always fair catch a punt.
I know.
But and another thing I mentioned 2 other things, particularly about one thing with the offensive line. Conor Mcgovern, I think, deserves a lot of credit. Last week he had an 85.7 run blocking grade. That was the best among all centers in the NFL. And the offensive line as a whole, they ranked 3rd out of 30 systems offensive lines. This is before the Monday night game in week 2. So offensive line needs to keep that going. But without Bradley Chubb, the Denver pass rush is really lacking. They're actually only 29th in pressure rate. Von Miller has 3 sacks. Nobody else has a single sack out of 70 pass attempts. So typically Miller is playing on the left side, so it's actually likely to be up to Morgan Moses to have the primary duty of containing him. So I think Moses is a little bit more of a run blocker than a pass blocker. Well, he's going to have to become a pass blocker this week.
Well, yeah, and you keep Croft and or Griffin on the strong side to help him out over there and tell them, hey, see the fast strong man, block him.
Right.
That's the one.
Help stop him from getting to Zach. That is your job today.
Right.
And I'd like to see that. I mean, there's a lot going on with our new coaches and new players and all this stuff. And it can get really convoluted. But I think one of the areas that I'm a little bit disappointed with overall is how we're utilizing the tight ends and, being able to both add pressure and peel off and become a safety valve. I've seen it, but not the way that I thought we were going to see it. Like also in run blocking, in addition to pass blocking, I feel like it's a little bit, I don't want to say just less effective, but I almost feel like it's written into the game plan a little bit less effectively than I had hoped. Any thoughts to that? Are we, on our tight ends? What do you think's going on with that, Frankie? And can they turn it around, or am I off base?
Well, I'm curious to see what the heck we're doing in terms of personnel. As you know, one of the things I do on my channel is the personnel groupings. And all through the preseason, we were very heavy on 21 personnel with Trevon Wesco in the backfield.
Right.
And so the question is, and then that same thing in the first game, but then in the second game, Trevon Wesco gets 2 snaps and we abandoned 21 personnel. We didn't have 1 snap in 21 personnel. We were all 11 and 12. And so the question is, was that specific for the Patriots, or is that a change of heart that we had? And now we're not going to be a 21 personnel team anymore. And we suddenly decided that Trevon Wesco is terrible. And we made a mistake all through training camp and all through OTAs and the preseason. We couldn't figure out that Trevon Wesco was terrible. But all of a sudden, after one game, oh, wait, Trevon Wesco's terrible. So I'd be curious to see what it is that we are coming out in this game against Denver. Is Wesco a big part of this team, and are we a 21 personnel team or not? If we're not a 21 personnel team anymore, that tells me that Trevon Wesco should be on the practice squad and Kenny Yeboah should be on the damn team. Because if we're not a 21 personnel team, then we could bring in Yeboah for special situations where he can go out and catch passes, which he's good at, and have the other guy in 12 personnel for blocking. And that's how you utilize him. And why not? If we're not going to use Wesco the way we were in the preseason, why not do that? So that's something to watch for in the Broncos game.
And let me comment on that too. I think Wesco had a little bit of a sloppy an ineffective first game. But I was really hoping to see him come out and kind of, look, I think it was more of like the way I saw it, it was a part of the entire mess. It looked like everyone was missing assignments, confused on where to go, who to hit. It looked like the whole team, particularly on offense, was that way. And I was really looking for him to be a part of the settling down. You bring up a great point. Are we abandoning it? Like, did they just say, you know what, this guy's not what we thought. He got in the game and he froze or what, whatever it is. Or was it just a game plan for the Patriots? Because I really think if it can work, if Wesco can play, I think it's a fantastic game plan to have to help break off some of these larger runs that Michael Carter and Ty Johnson, and I hope this trend continues. They really are electric when they are given a little bit of a chance. And we saw some of that this week. So, Adam, before I drop you back, what do you think about the tight ends, like, and Wesco? Do you think, have you noticed anything? What do you think? They're just having a hard time getting involved, or is it a game plan thing?
Well, before I get to that, to give you an update, Houston scored a touchdown with 20 seconds left in the first half and proceeded to miss the extra point. So 7-6 Carolina pretty much at the end of the first half, almost at the end of the first half. Just
so it's 7-6. I heard that Darnold had a fumble. Did they score off that turnover? Do you know?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, Mills took him right down the field. I think it was Anthony Miller in the back of the end zone for a 2-yard touchdown, and then the extra point was pushed wide right. 25 seconds left to go in the first half.
Interesting.
As far as the tight ends go, Greenbean, I got to admit, you got me hooked on Yeboah with all the draft previews. So
I like
it's one of those things. I feel like it's his redshirt season. I would be surprised to see him actually get called up, barring injuries. But Tyler Kroft is a guy I've been high on. It seemed like every game we would watch when he was with Buffalo, he had a way of scoring a touchdown against the Jets. And there's only so many tight ends who make a substantial difference one-on-one. There's only so many Travis Kelce's of the world. But Mike LaFleur seems to really want to utilize the tight end in this offense. I don't think he has the tight ends to do it. I mean, the less I see of Ryan Griffin, I still can't believe he's on this team, but he's on this team. Daniel Brown is a special teamer, and that's it. So to me, a great coach plays to the strength of his players and finds a way to adjust. So if I like the idea of using Wesco more as a fullback, as long as he's not getting handoffs, which, we know Adam Gase love to do. Yeah. So the more I see him in the backfield creating holes and use Kroft for now in that traditional tight end one spot, I'm good with that. But I think the strength of this offense in terms of skill positions is the depth at running back. And I think it's going to become the wide receivers as the season progresses, as Elijah Moore gets better. Yeah. So, for right now, I want to see a run-focused attack. I think this team on offense is really reliant on its ability to run the football. And as the passing game gets better as the season goes on, you can blend it up a little bit more. But let's see that play action. Let's see that screen pass. Let's see more of that creativity that's built off the run game.
I love it. I could not agree more, man. I agree with every word that you just said. And I do think while our tight ends are not complete garbage, they do lack, I think, what Mike LaFleur is really hoping to be able to do with his tight ends. Before I let you go, so I could just talk to Frankie for a few more minutes. I heard that Sam Darnold fumbled again. Is this accurate?
Yep, I think it just happened. In fact, I'll give it to you right now. Yep, fumble on the 28, 14 seconds. Texans have the ball. Yep.
Oh, and they're on their own 28?
The Texans will now be on the Carolina 28. So, yeah.
Oh, that's so fun. That's so much fun. Now, I'm going to say this, and then I'll drop you off. And I want to send this to the chat as well. Who are we rooting for here, really? So what do you, Y2K, who you rooting for in this game?
For Carolina, it's every single game, and it has nothing to do with Sam Darnold. I'm good with Sam Darnold. I want the best draft picks we can get. I'm rooting for Seattle to lose every game. I'm rooting for Carolina to lose every game. Plain and simple.
Hold on. I'm still here. Hold on. My battery
Please
died.
stand
Hold
by
on.
for technical difficulties.
Yeah, no, my battery again. Hold on. I'll switch
Oh,
batteries, but hold on a second. You're gonna see my belly. There we go.
But now you have the Christmas lights going on in the background. I like that.
That's for my hue, buddy. That's for my hue. So, Frankie, who you rooting for in this game?
By the way,
you have to root for Panther. I mean, if you're a Jet fan, don't you have to root for Panther losses and Seahawk losses one way or another? I mean, we need all the best. We need all of the highest draft picks we can get. We need many players who are good on our team.
I like the tact that you both just chose to get to the same result as me. And I don't disagree with you, but I'll be real straight with you guys. While I'm not rooting against Sam Darnold as a man, I would love to see them lose every game so Joe Douglas is right. That's what I want. I want my GM to be right. It's ego-based, egocentric, petty bullshit, but I love it. And it's half the reason I'm in this game. I love rooting against people. I root for very few. I only root for about 53 people in the entire NFL. So anyway, Y2K, I'm going to bounce you out for a few minutes more, but I appreciate your info, man. And you're awesome. So thank you.
My pleasure. It was a pleasure doing business with you. Frankie, good talking with you as well. Good night.
Hasta la pasta.
Awesome. How great is he? Seriously.
He's the best.
Yeah, man. And you know, we have another guy floating around back there. I don't know if his camera's working. You want to say hello real quick? Where is he? I don't want to pop him on here. He could be naked eating Oreos for all I know.
He's probably eating hot sauce.
Is that what he's doing? Let's bring him on to say hello. And then I want to bust Submission 72's balls for a second. Here we go. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on?
How you doing?
No, I'm doing all right. I was watching this game. It's it's kind of fun to have. We're talking Jets and we're doing all this, and I got this big screen in the background watching Sam Darnold fumble the ball and get stripped.
Yeah. So let me see. What's your take on this? I'll only keep you on a second, but who you rooting for and why in this one?
I have nothing against Sam. He's a good kid. I think he got a bad situation and everything like that, and he was always had the best attitude and everything, and he never threw anybody under the bus. So there's no reason not to like him. But I'm with Frankie on this. I root for Seattle and Carolina to lose every game because all I care about is draft picks.
There you go. You guys are quite the smart individuals. I like how you've organized your thoughts and your reasoning. I'm bubbling over and seething with hatred and loathing for everybody in the NFL. It's kind of how I roll, but in a very simplistic way. It's like, yeah, dude, if they lose out, Seattle loses out, our first round pick is higher. If the Panthers lose games, our second round pick is higher. So I'm into that. Now, as far as Sam Darnold, and I like what you just said, Sam Darnold never did anything. And AC is in the comments saying the same thing. He says, I'm rooting for the Panthers for Sam. We failed him. Sam was good to us. And I have to be real honest. I feel the same way. I mean, I've been in debate after debate, discussion after discussion about Sam, Zach, all this sort of stuff. When it boils down, I do think it was a good move to move on from Sam Darnold, just the relationship, everybody a fresh start kind of a thing. But I don't see how Sam could have worked, because we had two coaching regimes. Neither thought it was a good idea to give him a quarterback coach. And I just don't understand how you can do that and expect someone to succeed. So in my opinion, we failed him, just like AC said. And like you said, Jeremy, he's been good. He's been a good dude. He's never done a single thing wrong except for that one failed kiss where he got mono. Other than that, he's been a nice guy, right? How could you root against him in that respect? But business is business, isn't it, Jeremy?
Got to get that pick. I want another, I want a better pick.
So, all right, man, I'll bounce you out. Thanks for popping on, though. You're a good dude. I appreciate you being here, my friend.
Sure.
Enjoy the hot sauce, Jeremy.
Enjoy the hot. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought he said goodbye.
But the other thing too, Greenbean is Sam Darnold was about to get expensive.
Right.
and he was still a question mark, and you can't have expensive question marks, and he might turn out to be a good value for the Panthers, but we didn't know that. And so now we have a question mark, but it's an inexpensive question mark.
Right. 5 years worth of inexpensive question mark.
Yeah.
And right, it's smart business, man. Like that's the thing. It's even like with the May thing. Like as much as I like Marcus May, I think the way Joe Douglas is handling it, while emotionally it might be difficult to swallow, I think it's smart. And the Sam Darnold thing, I think your point is fantastic. We have a brand new regime. We have the opportunity to, for the first time in a decade, actually start fresh. Like think about it, Frank. When we hired Rex Ryan, we had certain coaches. Brian Schottenheimer came on board. Like, and then we fired Tannenbaum and we hire Idzik, but Rex was still on board, and it just goes on and on and on. Before that, we kept Terry Bradway. Like we hired Tannenbaum as a general manager, but kept our previous general manager as a lead scout, a director. Like we just can't seem to cut the cord and start fresh. And I think that's been part of what our issues have been. We never seem to just clean it and start fresh. And I think Joe Douglas doing that with the reasons that you said. Look, he's a question mark and he's about to be an expensive one. We have the opportunity right now. We have a second overall pick. We can legitimately push reset and start with a brand new regime. No stink from the previous organization lingering around. And then we can move forward with a young organization and do this the right way. Do you think that's what we're doing here?
Well, I think that's why Joe Douglas insisted on getting a 6-year deal, right? I mean, he didn't say, okay, I'll come here for 3 years and see how it goes.
Yeah.
He has a big commitment, and we made a big commitment to him, and same thing with Coach Saleh. And that's why we really have to hope these are the right guys. That's why I wanted to do a video. My video that came out today was all about organizational decision-making. And we have to hope that some of the questionable decisions they've made, maybe that's just growing pains for people who are in new positions. And they're experienced, but they're not experienced in their current positions. And so, we have to hope that they're putting in place all of the systems and talent evaluation. Somebody had a good comment on my channel today. Forget who it was, but they said, what about this? What about the scouts? We have the same damn scouts from the Gase era. And I said, that's a good point. How do we evaluate these scouts? And maybe we got to get all new scouts, or maybe the Northwest scout is terrible. We got to get rid of him. He doesn't know what he's doing out in the Northwest out there. And we need new bird dog scouts in the, at Rutgers or something. But that's a good point. But what about the scouts? I mean, Phil Savage is a respected guy. I think Chad Alexander, I think that's his name, Chad Alexander.
Chad Alexander
is well respected, but what about the rest of them? Well, I don't know.
Well, I think the scouts, what you really want to do is make sure that the people that you have overseeing the scouts know what they're doing, and then give them the carte blanche to make those decisions. Like that's their crew. So they did fire a handful of scouts, and they did bring on some new scouts. There was the one scout that the rumor was he was a leaky cauldron, if you will, to the media, that he was kind of a source of some stories. I don't know how accurate that was, but there was one scout that we let go, and the word was that he might have been somebody leaking stuff to the outside. So that's another good thing Joe Douglas has done here, is kind of tightened up the ship. And, there's very few, if any, leaks coming out of One Jets Drive. But I think when you hire guys like you just mentioned, Chad Alexander, Rex Hogan, and Phil Savage, guys that are universally respected, and really there's no questions on whether or not they deserve to be where they are. They're the ones making the decisions on the scouts, and they seem to think that the crew that they have is good. So I would feel comfortable trusting them. Do you agree?
Yeah, that's how it seems to me. I mean, but it was a good point. Like, hey, what about the scouts? And so, yeah, I think we're in good shape. Franz Clamor is saying about the 2020 draft, and we already discussed this, Franz, if you missed it. But, again, the 2020 draft was half Gase, half Douglas, and we were drafting for a different regime, the Coach Gase regime. So, and we still, even so, might get 3 or 4 good players out of it, maybe. I mean, we got to see how it goes. But even so, I look at 2021 as the first Joe Douglas official draft, personally. So and you don't know until 3 years later, they always say with drafting. So we have to see how it goes.
Right. I know. And like, well, just saying that, Frank, do you feel like just saying it feels like a little bit of a cop out? Because I actually think the same thing. And I've said that, like, look, guys, in truth, this is the first real official Joe Douglas draft. And I kind of got, yucked at, but, and I think to myself, like, I don't know. I mean, how do you feel? Do you feel like it's another excuse, or are you comfy in there?
It's objectively true. We were drafting for Coach Gase's system. That's an objective fact. And an objective fact too was that Coach Gase and Joe Douglas were co-equals reporting to the owner. Those are the facts. And on top of that, part of the reason people think that the 2020 draft class is failing is because of injuries. And Submissions makes a good point in the chat. You can't blame the scouts on players that never got injured before. And somebody rolls up on Mekhi Becton's, leg. What are you going to do? I mean, how's that a scouting problem? I mean, injuries happen in football. Football is injuries is something I say on my channel a lot. Football is injuries. There are going to be injuries. I have a whole series about injuries. We currently have 17 injuries, and that's not the most in the league, but it's not the fewest. We're sort of on the high end of the league. The average right now is 10 injuries per team, and we're above average right now.
But it does, I don't want to even say this, but we're gonna knock on some wood and do the whole thing. It did seem to slow down this week. I don't even recall. I'm pretty sure we got out of there alive, didn't we?
JFM had a calf that we didn't hear about, but he has a little bit of a calf, but it looks like he's going to play on Sunday. But yeah, with no major injuries from the game.
That feels like the first game in 3 or 4 years that we didn't come out. It's hard for me to even conceptualize leaving a game with no injuries. That's how bad it's been. But maybe this is the beginning of a new trend, man. Maybe Dr. Deweese and his crew are on it. And maybe we have some hope. That would be if we could get guys like Ashton Davis back, Jared Davis back, Jamian Sherwood comes back and stays healthy and all that. It really would be an opportunity to help swing the winds of change a little bit here, because it seems like the rug keeps getting pulled out from under us. But if we get this injury thing in check, Frankie, I think we're really going to see some potential for change, man. Do you think it's just, do you think, I mean, just your honest thoughts, do you think we're going to be able to turn the corner and become a less injured team, or do you think we're just kind of stuck in this thing?
Well, that's one of the reasons I'm looking at the data is I want to look at it every week and see how we do over time. Some comments on those videos are like, what is this telling us, Frankie? Okay, so what? What's the conclusion? It's like, well, we got to wait to see what the conclusion is going to be over time, because I want to measure it and see. Because one theory I had from this week was, maybe the injury bug just bites everyone at some point, and maybe this year we got bit early. That's one thing you could say. And then if we see our injuries slowly coming down over time, and then we see other teams like the Steelers, for example, had very few injuries for the first few weeks, 3-4 weeks as we're going along, then all of a sudden now they're in the middle of the league in terms of injuries, and they're a little bit above average, I think. So maybe, that's what's happening, is that everybody's going to get bit by the injury bug at some point. Like, for example, the Bills have 3 injuries. 3. We have 17.
Yeah.
Not counting illness and, people who retire and decide they don't want to play anymore, just injuries and none of the illnesses and stuff like that. So, so we have to look at it like that and see how it goes over time. And then we measure and see how we do. I'd like to be below average for the course of the year, and we'll see how that turns out. But then you also have to look at it year over year. So we just installed Dr. Brad Deweese and his staff this year, 4 doctors, nutritionists, massage therapists, everything. And you can't expect them to turn it around right away. I mean, you got to look at it year over year. So we'll see how we do longer term. But that's when we'll know. If we're consistently every year above average and we're not getting any better, then you have to say Deweese is doing something wrong. But
yeah. But right. But I do like that there's a tension being put to it, as opposed to just kind of go, following the same course. Hey, let's get a new trainer and, kind of lip service this piece. But I was very impressed with the amount of attention that Joe Douglas put into this, completely revamping and rebuilding 4 separate departments, putting them all under the umbrella of one department head, which is kind of incredible. And like you said, I think we're going to have to wait and see. It's funny because I made those videos about it. People jumped on me as soon as Carl Lawson went down. What happened? I thought we did. I thought we checked. And it's like, yeah, I hear you, but it's going to take a minute before these new initiatives kind of take root and actually, pay dividends for us. But the good news is that we're doing it. Like I had this saying, as you know, I ran a rehab for a long time, and I hand-picked all these sayings and I made huge posters out of them, put them on the wall. And this one that the patients had to pass every single day was, a year from now, you'll wish you had started today. And I love that one. It's such a big deal. Like at some point, you got to do the dirty work, Frank. Some point, you got to get your hands dirty. And it looks to me like that's what we're doing.
Yeah. And so we'll see how they do over time. And they're starting now, and that's good. Now, on the other hand, what's not good is that we have a stadium that's the field turf is on the ground. And as we all know, that is rubber, and we're paying millions and millions of dollars to these fantastic athletes that we all love to watch, and they're playing on rubber and silica dust composite.
Silica, I know, that's so funny. The way you broke it down on your video, it's funny how you keep going back to the silica dust. It's like, hey, what is this stuff?
What is it? Why are we having our players on rubber and silica? I don't get it. When we should have grass. And it's been proven, the players union has the statistics that the field turf causes like 30 or 40% more injuries. And so, one thing, no matter what Brad DeWeese does, if we continue to be above average, we could say, well, one facet is that we're in a stadium that's field turf and it's not grass. So that's something. But I've also said I think that the players union need to put that into the collective bargaining agreement. If they feel really strongly about it, they might have to give up some money, but it might be worth it to their members to give up some money. But because these injuries don't go away, just because they come back and play on it later in life, they still have to deal with these things.
Right. Yeah, and I hope that they do as well. We've had a couple discussions about that. I loved your video on it. If you guys haven't seen it, Frankie has a video on his channel on YouTube, Frankie from Flatbush, kind of breaking down what some of the fields are made of, what the specific ingredients are on the field in MetLife, and also some of the hope being like how Denver is being looked at for a northern stadium. They're able to keep their stadium and its natural grass, and they do a really good job. And maybe if people sort of emulated what they were doing, at least we have a model for this, because I think a lot of the problem is that the southern teams are able to do things that the northern teams are not. The northern outside teams are not, but Denver's doing it. So if you guys haven't seen that, it was one of my favorite videos that Frankie made, and it's worth a watch. I think you guys will learn something from it. So we got a few more minutes. I want to get to this comment. He says, Submission 72. It's good to have you here, my friend. He says, but GreenBean, how long is it going to take? Like in 3 years, these rookie contracts are up. So we are going to be like, okay, we can't keep everyone. So here we go again, restart. I have my thoughts on that, and I have a, in my opinion, a very, very good answer. But I'd love to hear what Frankie thinks about that one. Like, so when they talk about the rookie contracts ending up in 3 years, does that mean we have to start all over? What does that look like from your vantage point?
Well, rookie contracts, I believe, are 4 years, and right. Rookie contracts for first rounders have a 5th-year option, so those are 5 years. So, but the point is that this is the same thing that every team goes through submissions, and that's the way it is. And there's a reason why they call the NFL the not for long league, because most guys are going to wash out. And this is why it's most important submissions, not to focus on any individual player or two, but the system that's in place. What is the system? This is why I'm so obsessed with this. What is the system? What system do the Steelers have in place? The Patriots? No matter who comes in, Macaroni Jones shows up, and boom, he's doing all sorts of things, and he's fantastic. Well, what about their system? And you say, well, Belichick's been in the league for 47 years, Frankie. What the hell? Yeah, right. But he installed the system, and now they have that system in place in New England. Same thing with Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh and the Ravens, and they all have their systems. And so the pipeline of coaches, players, you name it, trainers, scouts, there should be a pipeline for everyone, and it's system-wide and it's organization-wide. And that's how you survive in the NFL. So when Bud Dupree leaves, it's not a problem for this, for his previous team. When this guy leaves, when Matt Judon leaves the Ravens, no problem. We got a guy just as good to replace him. And that's the way it needs to be, where no matter who you lose, this scout decides to retire. This BJ Goodson decides, I'm out of here. It doesn't matter, because we have a pipeline and we're developing people all the time. And this is what I'm hoping that Saleh is going to do as the head of it. Saleh and Douglas, those are our guys. We have to hope very much that Coach Saleh is excellent and that Joe Douglas is excellent at what they're doing. And if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing excellently, then we'll have those pipelines so that you're replacing guys when they leave one way or another. Either we resign them submissions if they're really good and we want to resign them, we resign them. That's what happens. Yeah. But if not, then they leave, then they get replaced. And that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. And one of the key words, in addition to how important the system is to put in place and to have your coaches really understand, live their system, and kind of, have it installed so effectively that anybody coming in, it's just a couple new pieces into an established system. Right now, everybody's new in the system. So that's why you see a little bit of a rocky start a lot of the time. But the additional word that you said is pipeline. Now, a place where the Jets have traditionally and consistently failed at is having talent being groomed within that system to take over when there are too many free agents to keep. You have to make hard decisions. Let's say your guard and your wide receiver are both up. You can't keep them both. You choose to keep the guard. The wide receiver leaves. But just like Frankie said, you've had somebody here now. He's going into his second or third year, and now he lives and breathes the system, and he can come in smoothly without much drop off. That's what you want to see. But here's the other silver lining with that. Once that's all installed, when you do lose big name free agents, guess what happens? When you have a stockpile of your own players, they leave, you get a comp pick for them.
I knew you were going to say that.
Hell yeah,
I knew it was coming.
But that's the thing. I watch these teams like the Ravens, like the Steelers, like the Patriots every single year. They have the established program, they have the pipeline, and then when they lose players, they get rewarded for it. We have been on the other side, feasting in free agency. Number one, not having a pipeline. Number two, switching our coaches every 2 to 4 years. So we never have anything entrenched, and we're chasing our tail for years. So in conjunction with what Frankie said, I think it's so important, the system. Then you have the pipeline, and then you get the reward for doing it the right way. And once you're able to do that, that's when teams have longevity, and that's when teams can sustain success. And that's why we haven't seen it. I hope that answered your question, submissions. I think it's a good question, and I appreciate it. So I think we're kind of out of time here. I mean, I have a lot of good comments, but unfortunately we're 5 minutes over. Yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up. So Frankie, what else you want to tell us here before? And I'm going to bring Watu on real quick. Give us an update for the game before we leave. I just want to do it together. But what do you want to tell the crowd? Where, what do you have coming up? Where can they find you? All that jazz. Yeah, it's the Frankie from Flatbush channel. I've been pumping out pretty regularly content on the Frankie from Flatbush channel. And the goal of the Frankie from Flatbush channel is it's a Jet fan learning to be a more educated football fan. So it's me basically learning and sharing what I'm learning. So tomorrow I have a video coming out about DVOA because I've started being fascinated with DVOA and what does that mean? And what can that tell us? And, I do videos on the PFF grades and stuff like that. So, but that's the idea, is that I'm a Jet fan. I research a lot of things. That's why some people were calling me Frankie Spreadsheets. We go into the spreadsheet and we try to figure out what's going on with these football players and the teams. Yeah. And I mean this sincerely. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to have Frankie on so badly is I'm actually a fan of his work and what he does. In addition to the information, I don't know if you're going to find just a more enjoyable voice to listen to. It's quite soothing and delightful. And I know I say it playfully, but fucking mean it, man. It's the best. And I'm very, and look, and you're just getting started. You're just hitting the ground here. So I think where your channel is going to go is upward and fast. And I think if any of you guys haven't checked out Frankie's channel, you're going to like it when you do. And I hope that you do. He could use our support. Let's sub and like his videos as well, because he's working hard and he's doing a good job. Before we leave, I want to acknowledge Submission 72 threw in a super chat, which I appreciate, man. Thank you. He says, good teams keep their best players. You can't replace Marcus May. Keep up the good work, fellas. Well, any thoughts on that, Frankie? Good teams keep their best players. You can't replace Marcus May. Keep up the good work, fellas.
Well, I mean, Marcus May, it can be replaced. I mean, everybody can be replaced. Marcus May is a good player. I think we all like him, but he's not an all-pro. He's not a Pro Bowler. He's, he was the MVP on a 2-win team, which is kind of like saying you were the Lord and Commander of a shithouse. I mean, really. so
that's good.
So, I mean, Marcus May, we like him, and if we sign him to a contract, I don't have a problem with it, as long as it doesn't, we have to always keep in mind the salary cap in football. I mean, that thing, you can't just sign frivolous contracts. We've tried that. It didn't work. Guess what?
Yeah.
So we like Marcus
really
May.
Well
I'd love to have him at a good price, but if he's being unreasonable, then he's got to go and we get a comp pick. That's all.
There you go. If we don't feast in free agency again, and that's the whole trick, right? But I think, look, half of what you're saying, Submissions, is entirely accurate, right? Like, good teams keep their best players, and that's what you want to be able to do. Your core players, your quarterbacks, your left tackles, your edge rushers, those kinds of guys, the Aaron Donalds of the world of the defense, that kind of stuff. With respect to Marcus May, and look, I haven't found a Jets fan that doesn't like Marcus May, and that includes me. I like him a lot. At the same time, we have a GM that kind of has a little bit more realistic value assessment going on. And even though that might be difficult for us at times, especially in this early stage of trying to build and install the system and everything that we were just talking about, it's probably not a good idea to break the bank for low impact positions like the safety and things like that. So while I love him and I think his impact is definitely there, I think it's still a better move to do things wisely as opposed to emotionally based. And I think we'll see the dividends. I think we already are starting to see stuff, at least with culture and attitude. It's happening, guys. It's just going to take a minute. So thank you. I hope you guys all had a good time. Frankie's information is in the description of this very video. You can click on that link. Please take the time, go over there and stop by. Don't forget our boy Jeremy also does a show with Frankie on that channel. Before we go, I just want to get a game update and then we'll wrap this up. So for that, let's see Wat2K99. How we looking over there, buddy?
All right, well, Houston just punted the ball. We have 10:37 to go in the third quarter. Carolina will be starting around their own 9 or 10 yard line. The unfortunate thing, it looks like J.C. Horn went down. It looked like a non-contact injury. So that is never, ever good. So all the best to him. And with McCaffrey hurting his hamstring, he's definitely not coming back tonight. The Carolina Panthers might be hitting a pretty hard detour on their season next season. It's so promising.
Yeah, I hope McCaffrey is not out for long because Sam Darnold clearly needs him, as any quarterback would. But all right, Wat2K. Well, I want to thank you for being here too, man. You're an incredible help and you're a great energy as well. I love having you. And let's say, is Jeremy there? He's not there. But thank you too, Jeremy. And thank you again, Frankie. I hope everybody has a good night. We will see you some other day with some other stuff. And I hope you guys know we're winning this week, man. Enjoy your week leading up to the game. We're going to kick some ass. Go Jets.
Go Jets.
Let me put on my homer cap real quick for you. The Jets are going 12-5, getting a first-round bye. Home field for at least one game in the playoffs this year. What do you think of that? What do you think of it? That's what I'm saying. 12-5. We're going, guys. 12-5. 12-5, first round bye, home field playoff game. Guys, it's going to be great. Are you kidding me? We were 2-14 last year. We have a whole roster full of kids. I got a first-time rookie head coach, rookie offensive coordinator. We don't know what these guys are going to do. We have a quarterback. He's never played an NFL game. Mekhi Becton can't stay healthy. I'm telling you, we're going 12-5. I'm telling you, you're out of your friggin' mind.